Hey everyone, Ryan Young, Kama Jiu-jitsu. I hope you're doing well. This thing commonly comes up to me, and maybe it does to you. Maybe you believe it yourself. And the question is, do I need to train with guys better than me to get better? The answer is no. Why is that? Well, by me playing basketball with Michael Jordan or Steph Curry or Magic Johnson or whoever the greats are in basketball, I can play with them every single day. I will not get better. They will beat me the same way that they beat me today and tomorrow and every day thereafter. Why is that? Because I'm playing with them. You'd think that I should get better through osmosis. It doesn't work that way. What makes me better is if every situation I'm in, I'm learning something or they're teaching me something. Playing with me and teaching me, two different things. Right? If when I'm playing basketball with Michael Jordan, he slams right above me. And I just go, wow, he just did that to me. Oh, he did it again, he did it again. He can do it 100 times in a row. I will never be able to stop him. But if he says, Ryan, your footwork is wrong. If you step here, then step here. If you see me do this, then you do that, then you can block me every single time. If he teaches me, then yes, I will get better. But I'm not getting better because of the fact that because I'm playing with him and he's better than me. I'm getting better because he's teaching me. Or I need to look at it as a way to, and maybe he can get better too. How does Michael Jordan get better practicing with me? Well, he needs to challenge himself. He needs to always put hurdles in his way, even though he's using me as his training dummy. RICKSON Gracie, best of all time. He never had anybody better than him to train with. Right? What would he do? How would he get better? It's not, people assumed that when he left Brazil, same with Horian, same with Royce, same with Helson, when they left Brazil, being that all the competitions were in Brazil and there were no competitions in outside of Brazil, everybody assumed they didn't get any better. Everybody assumed that Horian Gracie only had his father's jiu-jitsu and maybe some of the Hall's Gracie stuff, and that he never improved, and that his sons, who didn't get a lot of exposure, they didn't train at other schools like the way people do now, his sons, Hidon and Henner, everybody assumed they were no good. But, Hidon did spend summers down in Brazil, and Grandmaster Elio, from the way the story goes, would enter him in black belt tournaments as a purple belt, and Hidon would win. Right? Walk up to the mat with his grandfather. Grandfather takes off the purple belt, puts a black belt on him, sends him off to compete. He wins, comes back off, take the black belt off, put the purple belt back on, go on their way. But he did compete, is what it is. But for the most part, for the remaining 9 months of the year, he was in the U.S. and just training with his father. It was kind of a rude awakening for people when here comes Hidon, 17, 18 years old. I think he started with a brown belt. They started fixing up super matches with him, and he was doing well. I think there was one time that he lost to Mark Lehman, and I don't know what the circumstances were for that, but from what I understand, he did lose. Maybe it was points. I don't know if he got submitted or not. But he was going up against competitors all the time. And in fact, I think there was one where Henner and Hidon were in one tournament together, and Henner might have been 18 years old, brand new black belt, and went up against a very well-known competitor at the time. When they stood up on the mat to meet each other, this competitor told Henner, now you're going to see what a real black belt is. And as soon as the match started, probably within 30 seconds, Henner had him in a badass footlock and probably would have tweaked his foot if he didn't. If he didn't tweak his foot, I don't know what it was. But it ended quick. That guy tapped. So how did they get better without training or being exposed to all what was going on in Brazil? It's because they stuck with their principles of the stuff that Grandmaster Elio taught them, and they always worked to improve themselves despite their training partners, right? Didn't Hidon come out of a retirement? I don't even know if he's retired. I don't know if he ever retired from competition, but he just hadn't competed maybe 10 years and then did Metamoris to help his brother Halleck out with his brand new event and said, hey, I'll fight in one of the headline matches, right? Chrome did it. But Chrome was an active competitor at the time, but Hidon wasn't. Went up against Andre Galvao, and that thing went the entire 20 minutes, and you could see in the last 5 minutes of that match, you saw Henner starting to pick steam up. He wasn't weakening. He was getting stronger. And at the end of the match, Gaval was tired, visibly tired. So how could that be? Multiple world champion in his prime comes up against Gracie and Metamoris with a 20-minute time limit and can't beat him. Despite the fact that he just trains with his students every day. Trains with his students, he travels the world, does seminars all over the place, but yet he's still that good. How do you do it? Well, you need to make sure that you make every training session work. You don't just roll to roll and expect to get better. That's why there's a myth. Oh, you've been training for how long now? Oh, you've got a lot of mat time, right? You train every single day and you train for 2 hours a day for 5 days a week and you've been doing this for 5 years. Okay, you should be a purple belt. You should be a brown belt. I've seen guys that do that and they're no good. They don't have a basic knowledge of jiu-jitsu. They roll around, but as far as why or how, which are the two important questions, not the what. What to do if this guy does to me? No. You need to know why it works and how to deal with it. How do I get this done? Why does it work? When you understand those things, that's when you can go up against anyone and understand what's going on. Now, granted, that person may still be better and may beat you, but you'll know why. And that's the most important thing. So how did Rickson get better? Right? If you're the best, you have to find a way to get better despite that. And everybody believed that once he left, he wasn't going to get better because all the top guys were still in Brazil. Well, the top guys would come to Brazil and they'd get not only beat by Rickson, they'd get beaten by Dave Kamen and Mark Eckert and other people that were in the studio. Here's what Rickson would do, and here's what Dave would do to me as well when we train. Here's what I try to do, is that you try to get a better understanding of the art. You don't just get better at doing something, you understand why it works, how it works. And you teach that to somebody. You teach your students or your friends, whatever it may be. You teach them to become better. You show them how to beat you, right? If I've got a really good choke from the guard and I keep choking you, I need to show you why I'm beating you and how I'm beating you. Then I show you how to deal with it. Once you know how to deal with it, then what I was doing to you no longer works. Well, how is that good? Now a guy beats me. Well, no. Now I need to figure out how to counter what I just taught him, right? I taught him how to stop what I'm doing, but that doesn't mean that I can't develop another technique or another concept or maybe just be better at what I'm doing to thwart his effort. And that's what Rickson would do. Rickson would show you stuff. He said, this is how you do it. So you do it. He'd say, you see how I'm catching you? I'm catching you because you're not connecting here, right? Dave does the same thing to me. And Dave would say, here, you feel my weight? Yes. My weight is there. You need to make me move my weight somewhere else. Or with my weight there, you can move me this direction, not that direction. That's how I got better. Because Dave, who has always been much better than me, kept pulling me up. He would show me what I'm doing wrong against him. And that would then force him to then take his level of technique up. So if he teaches me how he's choking me and I learn how to stop it, he now needs to figure out the next way on how to do it. And if he doesn't know how to do it, what does he do? He goes and calls Rickson. And Rickson will explain to him, oh yeah, because you're not doing this. What happens? Dave comes back, chokes me all over again. Ah, man, what are you doing? How do you do that? How do I stop it? And he'll show me how to stop it and why it works. That's the important thing. So it's not just rolling that'll make me better. It's not me going to a school where everybody's good and can kick my butt. That will make me better. The question is, will they teach me? I would say a lot of times, especially with competition schools, the answer is no. What you have in these top competitive schools where you have these multiple world champions, what you have are, we go back to the Pareto principle, right? You think for every 100, you have 10 of them that produce 50% of the gold medals. A lot of those 10 congregate together and they train together. Now, does that mean they get better? Maybe, maybe not, right? You can have one of those guys, another Rickson, training with a school full of scrubs, right? People who are just learning. But he can still get better because he will show them how to get better. He'll build them up so they can beat him. It may not be in every position. He can build, one guy will have such a good mount that it's a challenge for Rickson to get out. One guy will have such a good guard that it's a challenge for him to pass the guard. Or if it's not, here's another thing Rickson and Dave would do. They put one hand away. right? If they're right-handed, they put the right hand away and play you left-handed, one-handed. Or they'll put both hands away. You know, there's one time, I think I mentioned earlier in another video where, and this was after I got my black belt, training with Dave, he did our connected guard, right? Connected guard. It's not simply closing the guard, it's actually connecting your body to your opponent, making it much harder to pass the guard. And he hadn't told me about it yet. He hadn't taught me that concept yet, but he did it to me. And something felt completely wrong when I was in his guard. And he later taught it to me. But he was connected to me. He puts both hands in his belt and he says, pass my guard. And every time I moved, I got moved. I got thrown back. I got swept. I got pulled out of my face. Everything. I couldn't stop anything. And it's because I didn't understand that concept. I knew what to do in somebody's guard, but I didn't know why what he was doing was working or how he was doing it. I just know something felt wrong, very wrong. Dave improved his guard and he improved every part of his game despite not having anyone who could really push him on a whole level. From the time that I knew Dave in the 90s as a late purple belt and brown belt to the time I met him years later as a multi-degree black belt, he had gotten a lot better, despite the fact that he hardly ever trained with other people at his level. Most of the times he was teaching his students. But I quickly learned that he continued to get better just like the way Rickson continued to get better. And the reason was because he did it in a smart way. He wasn't just rolling to roll. He wasn't rolling to beat everybody. He was rolling to make himself better, so he would deliberately handicap himself. So let's kind of talk about automobiles, right? So you've got a car that's really fast, right? It's got 600 horsepower. And you're racing a Honda Civic, and this one's got a 200 horsepower. And you're able to beat them every single time. But you want to make the race more interesting. So you have to find a way to turn off cylinders, right? So if you can somehow turn off 3 cylinders, that takes you down to 300 horsepower, theoretically speaking, right? Which means you're still going to be ahead. You're 3 versus the Honda's 4. So what if you cut it down to 2? Well, if you cut it down to 2, that would make it perhaps less than what the Honda has, and then the fight. But the race would be interesting. And that's what being good is all about and getting yourself better. You know you have all that headroom where you can always turn it up, but you don't always have to turn it up on everybody you train with. And because you're always beating that one person, that doesn't mean you need to abandon them as a training partner and go somewhere else and go to a place where you can find good training partners. It's always good to have training partners, but some people, right? A lot of you who tell me, hey, you know, how do I find a school like yours? Because in my area, there are 5 schools and they only do sport. Well, go join that sports school. But supplement your information, like I said in the last video, about how you can learn what we do, right? Supplement it and take time to study it yourself using some other concepts that are introduced to you through another means. And perhaps you can then get some time in training at the sports school, but then do a lot of your thinking and mental visualizing outside of that. And just remember to keep training on that side, but with a different mindset. And that will then help you, right? It's just like the person who launches their own school. You know, when I opened our Texas campus, I didn't have any training partners, and at least not that did our jiu-jitsu. So my thought was, you know, I'm just going to have to create a team of people who do our jiu-jitsu. And then here we are 5 years later, and now it's, you know, things are really good. I've got great guys. I've got guys that do very well now. It's taken a little while. You know, it went from having 2 students for the first 4 months. That was from October through December. And in January, I had, I think, 1 or 2 signups. And in February, I had my, and the first 2 weren't paying, right? So those are free. So I had my first 3 signups that were paying members in January and February. And I think by the, you know, and here we are last night, we had an overflowing class. Luckily, we have 2 mats in the studio. So we had, I think, 17 on the front mat and maybe another 6 or 7 on the back mat. So we were full last night, and that was a good thing to see. And you know, the school's building because of the thought process that I had. Now, if I thought to myself, you know, I only want to train where people are better than me, then there would be no Combat Jiu-Jitsu in Texas. I'd be training all over the place. I wouldn't have been able to help a lot of people that we've been able to help here. And I like the way things turned out. And as far as my jiu-jitsu goes, I've gotten better every single year since I've moved to Texas. Now, my body hasn't gotten better, right? You know, that kind of happens, 51 years old, your technique is doing this, but your body's doing this. And your hope is that your combined growth and technique with the deterioration of your body, you're going to do this, right? When you're in 20s and 30s, everything is going up, right? And that's how you get so good so fast. But if you look at Grandmaster Rickson, you look at Master Dave, they've got decades of injuries, and combine that with getting up in the years, then your body breaks down. But the mind is still strong. And that's the thing you need to keep trying to improve. There are people that I know that have been training for 20 years and they're no better than they were 10 years ago. And that means that they're just rolling and they're just doing it just it's like going out to walk. You go on a walk every single day and you don't push yourself. You just do the same 1 mile walk every single day. It's good. It's healthy, but you're not picking up the intensity. You're not trying to do it in a few minutes less. You're not pushing any further distance. You're not improving. So those of you who are thinking that you need to go to another school to find better training partners, you need to find better teachers. Now, if you've got a great teacher and maybe you don't have what you would think are the best training partners, then learn to handicap yourself or give your secrets away. If you give your secrets away, then they will get better and you will be forced to get better. Anyway, the little secret I thought I'd divulge to you guys. And if there's anything that you need, go ahead and put it in the comments below. I like doing question and answer things. So if any of you put a good question in the comments and I do a video, then I'll make you instantly famous. Anyway, that's all I got for you. Be sure to click on the links below if you see something that you like, whether it be KAATARO belts, Common Jiu-Jitsu Patreon, or RICKSON GRACIE'S Self-Defense Unit. Then it helps the channel out, and I appreciate it. Anyway, those of you who've been signing up on Patreon, I want to thank you for that. Thank you very much. And you're helping our effort here, and you're helping us to spread Jiu-Jitsu. And that's all I got for you. Take care. Happy training. Bye-bye.